Welcome to Alaska Weather, a production of Alaska Public Media and the National Weather Service, Alaska Region. Produced and broadcast daily from the studios of KAKM, Alaska Weather provides complete forecasts, public, marine, and aviation for all of Alaska. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
The National Weather Service.
Welcome to your Alaska Weather. I'm meteorologist Percy Dehne. This is your weather for February 22nd, 2017. And you can follow us on at weather.gov//Alaska, as well as our other email us at nws.ar.tv weather@noaa.gov. Starting off with tonight's hazards, we have plenty of hazards tonight. We have a strong occluded low pressure system sitting in the Bering with the strong front that's pushing through going through the Bering Strait. Otherwise, it's kicking off all these winter warnings and advisories. Along the Arctic coastline, central to eastern Arctic coastline, we have a wind chill in effect through 6 p.m. Thursday, and that's going to be for wind chills up to 55 below. And then we have a blizzard warning basically from south of Wainwright down to Point Hope, and that's going to be for blowing snow with visibilities a quarter mile or less. And that'll extend right on down from Point Hope down to Cavallina into Ambler. You'll have a blizzard warning with that as well, with strong winds and visibilities a quarter mile or less at times. And then we have over St. Lawrence extending up into the Bering coast as well. That's a blizzard warning there as well. That's going to be through tomorrow. And look for winds northeast to east, 30 to 40 miles per hour with gusts 60 miles per hour in this region. Otherwise, the yellow is predominantly all blowing snow advisories. We do have snow advisories through basically along the eastern Brooks Range, extending all the way to the Galena or lower Koyukuk Valley here. So look for snow ranging from 4 to 8 inches there. There is, for the upper Kovac and Noatak Valley, they have a winter storm warning, and they're looking for, in this region here, 8 to 18 inches of snow, so quite a bit. Otherwise, as you extend down to the YK Delta region, you'll have snow issues there, as well as snow advisory for 4 to 7 inches. And then along the Arctic Alaska range, the eastern range that is, you'll have a wind advisory. Look for southerly to southeasterly winds in that region. Then start out with the satellite tonight. We put it in the loop. And here's that strong occluded low pressure system, that cyclonic flow. Look at that strong southerly push of moisture, this streaming, the high clouds streaming northward. They'll continue to go through the north all the way to Barrow heading in tomorrow. Otherwise, over the southeast, we have a low pressure system sitting in the northern Gulf, and just bringing some clouds into the southeast panhandle. Yakutat was getting some snow when I looked before I came over here tonight. Otherwise, they'll continue to move eastward, and snow showers and that will taper off through tonight. Otherwise, starting off again with this strong occluded low pressure system, there is a dry slot over here sitting near AKwx, but that'll fill in as you get southwesterly flow and continued. You'll have scattered showery effect, snow showers. They'll swing through here with the southwesterly winds. Otherwise, pretty much from on Alaska all the way northward, you're going to continue to have plenty of cloud cover and moisture that'll affect the southwest region. Putting in the loop, you can see that it just continues to stream northward, and that's plenty of moisture that'll help, and strong winds that's why they put out the winter advisories and warnings. Today's weather, here's that 955 millibar low that's pretty wrapped up. Again, strong warm front and cold front extending through the central Bering and central Aleutians, with that warm front swinging through the southwest or YK Delta region. Again, you'll have southeasterly winds here, southerly, you'll have blowing snow here. The black bars are the isobars, that's showing a tight gradient there. Otherwise, you do have a weak trough that's sitting over the Beaufort Sea, and then you'll have that high pressure just sitting over the Brooks Range. So there will be some scattered snow showers tonight there. Otherwise, farther out over the Yukon Territory, Arctic Village region, you have that low pressure system. That'll produce some scattered snow showers. Otherwise, for the southeast panhandle, again, that low pressure system will move eastward. You get some onshore flow, some wintry mix there along the coastline. The Anchorage Bowl, where currently, we'll have no issues there. We'll have some high clouds that'll spread over, but no significant weather. For tonight's forecast, that low pressure system will continue to move a little bit farther east and gradually fill and weaken some. But again, that strong warm front will push continue through the southwest region. And you're going to have basically from Bethel north, you'll have blowing snow and some snow. Otherwise, farther south, the warmer conditions. So that's why you have from Nunavik Island southward, it starts a wintry mix. It changes over to all rain with the warmer temperatures. And then you're going to have a showery through the western Aleutians and the Bering, again with this trough that's swinging through. So you'll have scattered wintry mix showers through that region. The southeast, you have high pressure farther north. Otherwise, you can have some light snow over the higher elevations that'll taper on down to the Dixon entrance. Otherwise, south central we're in the good conditions here with marginal to VFR conditions throughout the Anchorage Bowl. Thursday's forecast, this occluded low pressure system moves farther east and starts to fill. Triple point low forms just over the Bering Strait, and the fronts, a warm front, the cold front, and the occluded are all starting to weaken and dissipate. Otherwise, you're still going to have a tight gradient throughout the southwest region, and that's why the warnings and advisories are all through Thursday. Otherwise, you can see you're going to have blowing snow issues and snow. Farther south from Bethel, you're going to have a wintry mix, but then all rain once you get along the western Cape's coastline, extending down through the eastern Aleutians. The Bering, you'll have that weak trough pushing through, and that'll bring a southwesterly flow and scattered showers. Southeast, continued high pressure dominating over the Anchorage Bowl. You may have some low stratus in the morning, some fog maybe up through the northern Cook Inlet. Otherwise, along the Link Canal, you'll have higher elevations. You have some light snow. Friday's forecast, here's the next occluded low pressure system moving into the Bering, so there's not much of a break here, but again, southwesterly flow, tight gradient, so plenty of moisture and rain to wintry mix as you go farther north as that warm air mixes in with the cooler air. Farther north, you have a weak stationary front extending along the Arctic coastline, so pretty much all light snow throughout the southwest coastline and the interior extended up to the Arctic coastline. Along the southeast Alaska Peninsula and the Anchorage Bowl, cooler temperatures inland, so you have snow, but a wintry mix over the eastern peninsula and western. As you get near Homer, it's going to warm up, all extending down to Kodiak. You'll have all rain showers. And there's a weak low pressure system sitting just north in the British Columbia region. You're going to have southwesterly flow and onshore flow here. Not much going on in the southeast panhandle with that ridge of high pressure over the region. Today's temperatures as of 2 p.m. The warmest temperature over the southeast, again with this high pressure down over the North Pacific, you're going to have 41 degrees there coming in at Klowak, 36 at Sitka. Along the Alaska Peninsula, pretty much all to 40s to mid 40s, 45 there at Dutch. In the cooler temperatures as you go farther north with the cooler air. And then, as you can see, the coolest temperature definitely along the Arctic coastline, extending down minus 33 at Catalina. That was the lowest temperatures as the 2 p.m. Barrow coming at minus 16 and Tin City coming at minus 17. As you go farther to the interior, Bethel came in at 10, and then Sleepnut came in at 26. I say Sparevon, sorry about that. Then along the Alaska Peninsula and the eastern Aleutians, again, pretty much with that southwesterly flow, you're going to have the warmest temperatures here. 45 there at Dutch, 45 at Atka, and 39 at Adak. Coolest temperatures again with the on the backside of that low pressure system. You have 33 there at Shemya. And tonight's low temperatures, again, not surprising, going to be along the northern coast, Arctic coastline, extending down through the interior to Seward Peninsula. Again, that's where the coolest temperatures are. And then lower temperatures are going to be higher, again, with the warmer temperatures in southwest flow. So it's going to be pretty warm here, 35, mid-30s, pretty much all along the Alaska Peninsula and Alaska eastern Aleutians. Along the southeast, you're going to have the high pressure dominating, but still pretty warm temperatures over the southeast panhandle, 31 at Sitka. Then tomorrow's high temperatures, again, pretty much all in the upper 30s with that southwesterly flow, southerly flow warming up. And you can see it gets modified all the way up here to Tin City, all the way up to 18 there at Point Hope. Again, the coolest temperatures are going to be along the Arctic coastline, -10 at Barrow and -13 at Dead Horse. The southeast panhandle, pretty much same temperatures yesterday almost. You're going to have 41 at Sitka and 39 at Kloak. Flying weather, IFR to marginal VFR, again with this occluded low pressure system as it drapes down through basically from St. Lawrence all the way southward to the eastern Aleutians here through Dutch. Then the interior, lower Kuskokwim Valley, extends northward. And then you're going to have, with the easterly flow, some stratus there along the Arctic coastline. The southeast, you're going to have the high pressure system in marginal VFR conditions and a little worse IFR conditions over the Dixon entrance tomorrow morning. Tomorrow's afternoon, the flying weather, as this front moves farther north, the worst condition is going to follow it. Again, it's going to be swinging right through the Anadyr Gulf all the way through the Chukchi Sea and along the Seward Peninsula. And it's a while extending down through the YK Delta region, through Bethel and down into the eastern Aleutians, eastern Bering. We will have some IFR to marginal VFR, some fog possibly in the Cook Inlet as well as tomorrow afternoon. And then marginal VFR conditions for the southeast panhandle, mainly near Dixon entrance. Tomorrow's flying conditions, Anaktuvik VFR conditions, Adigan VFR conditions, Lake Clark and Merrill IFR to MVFR, rainy MVFR, windy VFR conditions, and then Isabel VFR conditions, Mentasca VFR conditions, Tenita VFR conditions, Portage MVFR to VFR, and then Chillicook and White MVFR to VFR. And then for the freezing levels tomorrow, not surprising, with this warm southerly push of air, you're going to have all these freezing levels that's moving up through the YK Delta region from 2,000, extending up to 6,000, 8,000 as you get warmer air down here through the eastern Aleutians into the North Pacific. Not surprising with this southwesterly push is the surface gets lower as it moves farther north. Over the southeast, your surface freezing level is right along the southeast panhandle, and I get tongue-tied here. But otherwise, that'll continue for tomorrow. For actually Friday, this stuff will continue to move northward with the warmer temperatures coming in. Tomorrow's icing, look for light to occasional widespread moderate, and then with this system that's moving up, that occluded system above 3,000 is for the southwest, you extend into the Chukchi Sea. Look for above 1,000 there, but above 8,000 with the warmer temperatures there through the Dutch area. For the southeast, above 3,000 light, occasional moderate, and then above 2,000 of light occasional moderate along the eastern Brooks Range. Tomorrow's jet stream, strong northwesterly flow, and then it dips and transitions to a strong southwesterly flow, 140 knots going through the southwest region, and then transitions back to northwesterly. And then it's northwesterly 90 knots extending down into this low that's sitting over the south of Hattaway, and then transitions to southwesterly 100 knots going into the lower 48. Tomorrow's 9,000 foot winds, cyclonic flow around the low pressure system sitting around the Bering. The western Bering, that is. So you have strong southern winds, southwesterly 50 knots, pretty much through the eastern to central Bering and eastern Aleutians. And then it transitions with the high pressure, it transitions to northwesterly 35 to 45 knots over the southeast panhandle, and it starts to weaken as you go farther north along the Brooks Range, westerly 35. Tomorrow's 3,000-foot winds. It's a low-pressure system sitting over the western Aleutians. Again, same scenario, strong southwesterly flow, 40 to 50 knots through the central Aleutians, going up into the northern Bering. And then it transitions, it's a high pressure sitting south of Kodiak region, the northwesterly 15 to 20 knots through the northern Gulf and the southeast Panhandle, and a little weaker as you go farther north along the Brooks Range. And then tomorrow's turbulence, you're going to have occasional to isolated severe with this front extending basically from the central interior all the way up to the Brooks Range, and then isolated light to occasional moderate over the St. Lawrence Island, again with those strong winds, and then below 5,000 along the Alaska Peninsula, extending up into just north of Kodiak, and that'll be occasional to moderate to occasional severe in this region. Then on this, along the Shemya, extending down to the Red Islands here, you have below 4,000 for light to occasional moderate, and that'll be again with that southwesterly flow coming in with the on the back side of the strong include low pressure system that's sitting over the Bering. We'll be back with you after this with the Marines.
Hello again, I'm meteorologist Dave Snider with the National Weather Service with another edition of Alaska Weather Facts. And joining me today are not just one, but two people, both with the last name Stevens, which is even more fun, but no relation. We have Eric Stevens from Dehne and George Stevens, who is a mechanical engineering student from the University of Alaska Fairbanks. Did I get that right?
Yep.
Awesome. And today you guys brought a really cool toy, or I should say tool, with you. It's a sandbox, but why are you guys working on a sandbox?
Well, it's part of our senior design project, and we were approached by AKwx to build this for them. They had a proof of concept that they developed about a year ago, I think, and they wanted a more robust version that they could pack onto a plane and take places, and it's a handy learning tool for kids and adults.
So you're a mechanical engineering student. You've built a traveling sandbox for the experimental program to stimulate competitive research, AKwx, and Dehne's facilitated this. But why do we need a traveling sandbox?
Well, the prototype was such a big hit that they decided they wanted another one, actually two, that they could that would be easier to travel with, you know, possibly marketable even.
Okay, so this is a traveling sandbox that's got a lot of bits and pieces and a computer hooked up to it. What is the computer doing with the sand?
The computer actually uses a Kinect sensor to read the topography of the sand or the shape of the sand, and then the computer translates that into information which it projects using a projector onto the sand, showing topographical lines and which is representative of the shape of the sand.
Okay, so this is a live mapping tool?
Yeah. It's interactive. As you're moving your hands through it, it is actively following and changing the lines to fit what you're doing.
That sounds like something I could have in my backyard.
Yep.
It'd be a lot of fun. So you guys had to change the design a little bit to make this more Alaska-fied, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, how'd you do that?
Well, the original was made out of basically lumber and Simpson strong tie type stuff, and we rebuilt it to make it lighter and basically more transportable. We can pack it down to a fairly small size, and it can be loaded onto a plane and flown anywhere in the state.
Which you guys did today. And you have plans to take this in other places of Alaska, right?
Yep, we're actually going to be headed down to Homer with it later today.
Okay, very good. Eric, how does this fit into science learning around Alaska?
Well, you know what? I think it is a tool and it is a toy. And it brings out a smile from an 8-year-old and the smile from a 48-year-old with that inner 8-year-old wanting to get out. The sandbox, it's an interactive learning tool that teaches us how topography in the 3 dimensions is related to, say, a 2-dimensional map. More about that later. Just like George was saying, it's got a Kinect sensor, not just for video games anymore. It can sense out the lay of the land there, feeds that information in the computer identifies that, sends a signal to a projector to send topographic lines to map over that lumpy ground. So you get a 3-dimensional topo map out of it. And my favorite thing about it, this is the thing that stops people at the trade show, they stop at your booth and don't leave, is that you run your hand through that sandbox and it responds in real time. It remaps the topography as you get to be Mr. Tectonic Plate Drifter there. You can make things how you want. Well, what if we made a really high mountain here and a low valley there, and the lines adjust to what you did? It's a learning tool because it shows you that connection between these two-dimensional topo lines and what's really out in Alaska. And Alaska's a place with all kinds of topography. You know, we're from the Great Plains, where topo maps tend to be just like blank pieces of paper, but Alaska is particularly gifted in this regard, and this tool helps us, I think, learn more about our state, really.
Absolutely. And so this is going to enhance STEM learning, the science, technology, engineering, and math, in many different locations around Alaska. Then this would be something that kids and teachers can get their hands on.
It sure is. And I mentioned the it's like fly paper at a booth that, or at the Science Potpourri when we had Greg's original version of this sandbox, and that one was made out of scraps of wood, and it was a prototype. But even that one, before it had some of the refinements that George and crew have made for this newer, upscaled, maybe a 2.0 version of the sandbox, even that one was so attractive to people. It just demonstrated that this has potential to be a learning tool, an outreach tool, an education tool that now is portable and can go places in Alaska. Of course, there's only one sandbox, can't be everywhere at once, but hopefully it gets out there, gets the word out about EPSCoR and what science is being done here for Alaskans.
All right, that sounds really interesting, and I can't wait to get my hands in the sand and try this out for myself. We're going to demonstrate this here in our next segment of Alaska Weather Facts, but before we go, we want to remind you that EPSCoR, which is a new acronym for me now, but I'm going to remember this because you can follow them on Facebook and Twitter, and I invite you to do that. Alaska EPSCoR is also something that facilitates science learning at the University of Alaska around the state, and that stands for Experimental Program to Stimulate Competitive Research. So check that out, and make sure you tune in tomorrow because we're going to have the next version where we actually get our hands in the sand and check out how this works and demonstrates that topography. So for now, I'm meteorologist Dave Snider with this edition of Alaska Weather Facts, and we'll see you again next time.
Welcome back. Starting off with our sea surface temperatures, as you can see, the cooler air, the blue, again with that northerly flow, we're going to have continued cooler temperatures through the Arctic, extending all the way down to the northern Bering. Otherwise, the southeast panhandle is warmer with this high pressure that's sitting over the northern Pacific here. So you have the warmer temperatures sitting there from basically from Hanagai southeastward. For today's sea ice analysis, again, it's all ice covered, all extending down to St. Matthew Island. With this southwesterly flow, with this warm air starting to push in, they're expecting the ice edge to move farther north. So expect that through the next couple of days with the next low pressure system that's going to pretty much take the same track over the western Bering and move up through into the northern Bering. Thursday's marine forecast for the southeast. Inside waters, northerly flow 15 to 20 knots, and same as the outside waters, except for small craft, the northerly flow northwesterly, they're near Yakutat. Then for Friday, continued northerly flow 15 to 20 knots in the inside waters. The outside waters, you're going to have westerly flow. Again, with that high pressure moves in, you're going to have westerly flow here, 25 knots south of Yakutat, and then northwesterly as you get farther south. And then for Thursday's marine forecast for South Central, variable through the Prince William Sound, but on the eastern side of the Kenai, you're going to have a westerly flow 15 knots, southwesterly extending down on the east side of Kodiak. Otherwise, you'll have southwest extending through actually southeast extending through the northern Cook Inlet and southern Cook Inlet, and then the northern, you're going to have northerly flow at 10 knots. And then for Friday, predominantly all westerly flow. You're going to have gale winds here through the Barren Islands. Otherwise, you're going to have southeasterly 15 knots through the northern Cook Inlet, and then northwesterly 15 to westerly small craft to 25 there coming out of the Cape Hinchinbrook. And then Thursday marine forecast for Alaska Peninsula, pretty much all small craft winds, southerly 25 to 30, and then southeasterly on the Bering side. Then Friday's forecast, predominantly all southwesterly small craft, westerly there just near the Shumagat Islands, and then southwest coming into Bristol Bay, slightly weaker. And then the big story here is going to be the gale winds with a southwesterly flow with that next system as it continues to push in, as that warm front goes farther north the cooler front, that is, goes farther north of the Bering. But otherwise, you're going to have strong gale force winds pretty much from the central to western Aleutians, and a little weaker on the Pacific side is from AKwx eastward. And then Friday, all southerly winds. Again, with that next system, you're going to have storm force winds 50 knots extending down just to Adak. Then it tapers off to gales as you get near Dutch. And then Thursday, predominantly all southerly flow, small craft winds. And then Friday for the west coast, again, all southerly, starting to get a little stronger, gale force at 45 knots over the St. Matthew Island region. And then along the Arctic coastline, predominantly all easterly flow, small craft. I think it becomes all gale force as you go along the northwest coastline. And then to the lower, actually the Bering Strait, you're going to have a southeasterly flow, 30 knots. And then for Friday, predominantly all easterly flow, and then southerly flow as that warm air starts pushing up and it's diminishing. The gradient a little weaker. You're going to have 15 to 20 knots. And tonight's forecast, again, here's that strong 964 millibar occluded low. That's going to basically sit over the western Bering. And then as that front pushes inland, you're going to have blowing snow issues basically over the YK Delta region extending up into the Seward Peninsula. Over the southeast, you're going to have light snow showers over the interior, extending down the Dixon entrance. Over the Anchorage Bowl, some cloud cover, but just some high clouds moving in as a continued southerly push there with warm front moving northward. And then Thursday's forecast, you're going to have a secondary low forms over the Bering Strait. These fronts, warm front, cold front included, are all starting to fall apart and dissipate. Again, still plenty of moisture though. Southerly flow here, going to have blowing snow issues through the Seward Peninsula eastward along the Brooks Range and extending over the northwest Arctic coastline. Farther south, you're going to have that warmer air, so you have rain showers from basically Dillingham southward through the eastern Aleutians. Over the western Bering, you're going to have that trough pushing through and now bringing scattered showers. And we're going to mix as you go farther north. In the southeast, you'll have onshore flow and not much going on there. That's it for your Alaska weather.
These forecasts are to be used for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
The National Weather Service.